Karen called cops on me for moving in. My son flashed his badge and arrested her. The moving truck rumbled to a stop in front of 47 Maple Drive, its engine coughing as I stepped out into the late afternoon sun. My name's Marcus Tate, and after years of saving, I'd finally bought this house. See, a modest two-story with a porch swing and a small garden. It was supposed to be a fresh start for me and my son, Jamal. A place to rebuild after the divorce that had left us both raw. The neighborhood was quiet, all picket fences and neatly trimmed hedges, the kind of place where people wave from their porches. Or so I thought. As I hauled the first box from the truck, a woman emerged from the house across the street. She was maybe 50, with a blonde bob so sharp it could cut glass, and eyes that pinned me like a bug under a microscope. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. Instead, she stood on her lawn, arms crossed, watching me like I was trespassing on her world. I nodded politely, but her lips tightened, and she pulled out her phone. My gut twisted. I knew that look. I'd seen it too many times before. "Hey, you!" she called, her voice slicing through the air. "What are you doing here?" "Moving in," I said, keeping my tone even, setting the box down. "Bought the place last month." Her eyes narrowed. "I don't think so. This house was supposed to go to a nice family. I'm calling the police." I froze, the weight of her words sinking in. Nice family. The phrase stung, but I wasn't surprised. I'd lived through enough moments like this, moments where my skin seemed to be the only thing people saw. Still, I forced a smile. "Ma'am, I'm just trying to unpack. No need for trouble." "Trouble?" she snapped, already dialing. "You don't belong here. I'm keeping this neighborhood safe." Her name was Karen. I learned that later, from the neighbors who whispered about her watchdog tendencies. She'd called the cops on kids for skateboarding, on delivery drivers for parking too long. Now it was my turn. I stood there, hands in my pockets, trying to stay calm as she barked into her phone about a suspicious man at 47 Maple Drive. The humiliation burned, but I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of seeing me crack. Minutes later, a squad car pulled up, lights flashing. 2 officers stepped out, one older, grizzled, the other young and tense. Karen rushed over, gesturing wildly. "That's him. He's trying to break in." I raised my hands, slow and deliberate. "Officers, I'm Marcus Tate. This is my house. I have the deed, the keys, everything." The older officer, whose name tag read Daniels, looked me over, then at Karen. "Ma'am, let's see some proof," he said, his tone neutral. Karen's face reddened. "Proof? He's the one who needs to prove he belongs here." Before I could dig out the paperwork, a familiar voice cut through the tension. "Dad." I turned, and there was Jamal, my son, striding across the lawn. He was in his police uniform, badge gleaming on his chest. His shift just ended. At 24, he carried himself with a quiet strength, the kind that made you listen when he spoke. His eyes flicked from me to Karen, and I saw the moment he understood what was happening. His jaw tightened, but his voice stayed steady. "Officers, I'm Officer Jamal Tate," he said, flashing his badge. "This is my father, Marcus Tate, the legal owner of this property. I can confirm his identity." Karen's mouth fell open, her phone slipping slightly in her grip. The officers exchanged a glance, and Daniels nodded. "All right, son. Let's see the paperwork, just to be thorough." I handed over the deed, my hands steady despite the anger simmering inside. Daniel skimmed it, then handed it back. "Looks legit. Ma'am, you got any evidence this man's doing anything wrong?" Karen stammered, her confidence crumbling. He doesn't look like he belongs here. I was just being cautious." Jamal stepped closer, his voice low but sharp. "Ma'am, you called the police on my father for moving into his own home. That's not caution. That's harassment. And I'm guessing this isn't your first false report." The younger officer, clearly uncomfortable, shifted his weight. Daniel sighed, rubbing his temple. "Ma'am, we've had multiple complaints about you making unfounded calls. This stops now." Karen's face twisted with disbelief. "You're siding with them? I'm protecting this neighborhood." Jamal didn't flinch. "You're under arrest for filing a false police report." The neighbors, who'd been watching from their windows, started to gather. A woman in a cardigan, Mrs. Ellis, stepped forward. "She's been doing this for years," she said softly. "Last month, she called on my grandson for playing basketball in our driveway. That was the twist I didn't see coming." Mrs. Ellis, A quiet widow who'd seemed content to stay out of Karen's orbit, breaking her silence. Her words shifted the air, emboldening others to nod, to murmur their own stories. Karen wasn't just a nuisance. She was a bully, and the neighborhood was done. Jamal cuffed her, reading her rights with a calm that masked the storm I knew he felt. Karen's protests faded as she was led to the squad car, her voice shrill but powerless. The officers drove off, and the crowd dispersed, some offering me shy smiles, others avoiding my gaze. That night, Jamal and I sat on the porch, boxes still unpacked. "I'm proud of you," I told him, "but I hate that you had to do that." He stared at the street, his badge still clipped to his belt. "I didn't want to arrest her, Dad, but she crossed a line. People like her, they think they own the world." I nodded, my chest heavy. This house was supposed to be our sanctuary, but it felt tainted now, marked by a fight we didn't start. Karen's arrest wasn't justice, not really. It was just a moment, a brief reckoning for years of suspicion and fear cast on people who looked like me. I wondered if she'd learn, or if she'd just double down, convinced she was the victim. The next day, Mrs. Ellis brought over a pie, her way of apologizing for the neighborhood's silence. "We should have spoken up sooner," she said, her eyes wet. I thanked her, but the gesture couldn't erase the bitterness. This was our home, but it would never feel entirely ours. What do you think? Where does justice lie when prejudice poisons a community?